Okay, I made some changes to the instructions in the blog. I didn't feel like they made as much sense as I was hoping that they would. So if you come up here, you'll see that it's now dated February the 12th, which is the day I'm making this video. So we're at this step here, fix existing font errors, and it's telling us that we have two font errors. We're using an italic font with Fira Sans, but we're not downloading an italic font. And also, we're using a bold font, but we're not downloading a bold font. We're downloading a semi-bold font. And we can actually take this information and verify it inside the page. Let's actually go into Developer Tools, take this cursor and click on something that's first bold, and we can see that it's actually listed with a font weight of bold, and that actually is a equivalent of a numerical 700. Then down here, if we look at this line right here, the font style is meant to be italic. Now I want you to spend just a moment looking at these letters. And what the browser does is, if it doesn't have the font file it needs for a font, for an italic font, what it will do is take a regular font and give it a slight slant. So if you notice, look at the E here in the word wildlife, and the E up in I want to be, and it's all of these letters are just slightly slanted. They're not really italics. What the browser typically does, if it doesn't have the correct font weight, is it will synthetically try to thicken these letters. And the purpose of this is to show you that that happens. The browser is constantly trying to make the page look as best it can, even with sometimes limited resources. So we're going to fix that. Go back into the instructions. And it's all in the link, which is in the head of your index.html. So what we want to do is go to fonts.google.com. There it comes up for me. And as we did before, we're going to search for Fira Sans and select that font, and then bring up this drawer. And without any customization, it only loads a 400 weight font file, but what we want to do is customize that. So we'll click on Customize. We're going to go ahead and download the regular 400 because most of our text is at that font weight and font style. But now we also need to download a 400 italic and a regular bold. So there we go. We have a little bit of problem with load time, but we're not too worried about that. After customizing the files that we need, we can go back to embed, and there's our new link. So I'm going to carefully copy that link, go into the index.html, find the link that's there, carefully remove it, and paste the new one in. And if you notice, the new one is 400 for the regular 400 weight font, 400i, which implies it's 400 font weight and a font style of italic, and then our 700, which equates to a bold. So we can go ahead and save save that. I'm actually going to do something real quick. I'm going to just reveal index.html in the Finder, and I'm just going to double click on that. So if you notice, I don't need Google Fonts anymore, I'll get that out of the way. You notice here when it says 127, that's in our server, and here the browser is loading the file directly. So there is a change. This will not automatically refresh when we save, but this one will. So let's go ahead and do the save. And look at that E. That's no longer a slanted version of that E. There's a font designer that designed this italic font to be according to whatever the specifications of the designer wanted that. You'll notice the A is quite different. So this is a totally different font file. It's still Fira Sans, but it's Fira Sans italic. And again, we can look at it here with the A and the E. And the A and the E are the most obvious changes. If I refresh this, then it will also see those changes. And it's minor here, but can't show it to you anymore. But there may have been some subtle changes also with the bolded fonts that we get with the headings. Okay, so let me find the instructions. That's what this was all about. We needed to bring in a new link from Google Fonts and replace the old one with the new, so that we were downloading the correct font files. This is the end of the instructions. The very end, of course, we have to commit and push fix font link, commit that, push, go to our repo, refresh, fix font link. The only thing we had to change was index.html, so the only place we see that commit message is right there. We can go, now that we know what we're looking for, we can refresh this screen. There we go. Did you see that? The A and the E changed when we refreshed. So again, we want to always remain a little paranoid about checking for errors. So we've already got this in here. We can just click check, watch it working. Hopefully it'll come back. There we go. No errors. Go back one, check it for the CSS. And again, we get no errors. So that's a complete project 3. And with some minor things, different order for these pictures, my project now looks very similar to the example that was part of the instructions.